Welcome everybody. This is Microsoft 365 Platform Community Call. This is our weekly call happening every single Tuesday at 8 a.m. Pacific time, except between the 1st of July and end of August. So this is the last call and last weekly call before of the summer break, as it's a summertime in the Northern Hemisphere, and we're expecting the call attendance to go a little down, and also Microsoft employees need to have some time off. We wanted to have a clear time slot where we don't have this call, and that's why it's from July 1st and on the 31st of August. Now, today, however, let's focus on cool new demos and cool new topics, which we will go through. So we'll do a quick recap of some of the slides and some of the assets which are available, like the free training materials, which is a great way of using your summer vacation. Well, not summer vacation, summertime, when you're not necessarily working that much. So if you have some learning time in your calendar, please take advantage of those. We'll code all of those through and to the typical set of slides. Few updates on the news site. We'll have the group photo together with all of the people who are willing to enable their video, and then we'll go to the real stars of the day, and we'll start with the wrap-up related on taking advantage of Microsoft Graph Postman collections. So Sebastian Levert did a quick kind of a preview topic on this one, few feedbacks, and now wrap-up is then deep diving on additional things. Then we'll have Devanka and Chida talking about the introduction on the Microsoft Viva Learning extensibility. So Microsoft Viva Learning has an API surface, and we'll talk about what are the options there and how do you integrate to the Microsoft Viva Learning, and what are the opportunities for our partner ecosystem as well, but also for the customer side. So how can you extend that platform? And then we'll have Benjamin Olsen as the last topic of today on introduction to virtual appointment API, which is really cool topic as well. Again, reminder, we will be on break after this call, and we'll be back on 6th of September. We cannot, unfortunately, send you a cancellation in the invite, because that invite was never sent to you by us. So you downloaded that invite potentially from our website, and that means that we don't know who has that invite in their calendar, so we cannot, unfortunately, send the cancellation. You can delete the upcoming weeks from your calendar. Easiest way to then get back on track on the 6th of September. Quick recap on the assets which we have available on the Microsoft 365 platform site. So we do have two different YouTube channels. We have the official channel, which is Microsoft 365 Developer Videos channel, and we have a Microsoft 365 Community Video channel. It is as official as well, but it's more community-driven videos and a bit more relaxed, so not as produced as the other channel. Now, we will keep on releasing at least 4 to 5 new videos in the community video channel throughout the summer. So even though we will be on a summer break with these calls, there's a nice buffer of cool videos already queued up. So you will see new videos and new content on that channel every single weekday, which is really cool. Now, we do have a lot of open source assets available in multiple different GitHub organizations, but as it might be a bit difficult to actually find this sample which is relevant for you, we also have specific sample galleries, and from them, the primary one is the top one, which is AKMS M365/samples, which is the one gallery where you can find all of the different samples done by community or the Microsoft employees. And if you're wondering that there's too many URLs to remember, luckily only one, which is AKMS/M365/community, accessing all of this information. Now, this is already 5th time I'm saying this, but I'm trying to make this to everybody, to remind everybody, this is the last call, which is happening until the 9th of September. So this is the weekly call. We will restart then on September and go through all the way through until next summer. We will have Adaptive Card Identity Platform, Office Add-ins Platform, Power Platform calls happening during the summer period as well. And then the Thursday call, which is always happening on 7 a.m. Pacific time, on every single Thursday is actually happening, which is basically a bi-weekly cycle between the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform community and Viva Connection and SharePoint Framework topics. So that's on every single Thursday as well. If you're wondering on the latest information around those calls, AKMS/M365/calls, that's the location where you can download all of the invites to start with. Now, some assets to get started on the Microsoft 365 development. So we do provide you a free Microsoft 365 E5 tenant, so the best possible tenant which is available with all of the goodies and capabilities in the tenant. Now, if you keep on using that tenant for developer purposes, we will renew that in every single 90 days, which is really cool. So this is a great way of getting you a free development environment which you can then use for testing your development, testing things, and figuring out how the Microsoft 365 actually works. If you then are wondering, okay, I now have the talent, how would I then do development? Well, we got you covered. So we have like 86 or 90 roughly modules available from the Microsoft Learn at AKMS m365/dev/learn. And those are all free learning modules for you to get started on the Microsoft 365 development. So really, really cool stuff. We also have two different podcasts shows which are happening typically within every single week or bi-weekly, so to say. So we have the Microsoft 365 Developer Podcast, which is at m365devpodcast.com, hosted by Jeremy Fake and Paul Chevelain. And then we have our PMP Weekly at AKMS PMP Weekly address, which has also a YouTube version. Now, the PMP Weekly will be actually on vacation starting from next week as well. So we are aligning on the slower summertime. So we'll come back on the season 6 or 7. I can't remember. We've been doing that for quite a long time, starting in the end of August. We also have, as mentioned, a lot of samples available for you to take advantage, and these are samples provided by Microsoft or by the community, so people who are in this call to get started on implementing something in Microsoft 365. Some of the samples are quite polished, and you could use them potentially as is within your tenant. We do not, however, provide you an easy download, just a solution ready to go. And these are samples, so you will need to download the code, compile the code, and get started on consuming then the code. Now, as you might be wondering that, okay, maybe you don't have all the skills and understanding how would I access and get started on using those samples, we got you covered on that one as well. And I will let David Warner to talk about that side on the slide.
Excellent. Thank you, Vesa. Friends, just like Vesa said, if you would like to utilize those samples or even contribute back or both, double bonus, we're here to help you out. Sharing is Caring is a program that provides hands-on guidance. And what does that mean? It means that we're going to work right alongside you in sessions that are safe space opportunities for you to learn, to collaborate, and work together with others. We won't record the session, so you're free to ask any and all questions that you may like, and we'll work together to show you how to do things like submit your first GitHub pull request. Perhaps you want to learn how to use NVM, or you'd like to present on one of the community calls. We're here to help. One of the newest is Writing for the Web with Emily Mancini, Hugo Bernier. Had to be rescheduled just due to some illness, but look for those new dates in July. And we've got a 2-part session coming up on Power Pages. Hugo Bernier is our new CPM, Community Program Manager for Power Pages, and could not be more excited to share with you how you can get involved with that product. Take a look for more sessions coming up, aka.ms/sharing is caring, all completely free. Looking forward to working with each and every one of you. Vesa, back to you.
Excellent. Thank you, David, on that one. And then going through the slides before we go to the news and the group photo. Now, quick reminder, we are running out of the time for this one, but we would be highly interested on having more and more community members as part of our upcoming Microsoft Community Initiative. And this is basically something where we're looking community members to be actively involved in a community advisory board. And this submission timeline for this one is closing by end of this month. I think it's 13th of June, if I remember correctly. Basic idea here is that we're looking into having community members, external Microsoft, not Microsoft employees, to help us on keeping our community initiatives truthful and transparent. So we would be definitely looking into having you to join on potentially on this journey. So have a look on AKMS MCAB Leader app for additional details. Now, moving on the weekly news. So we do have few news available within the platform side this week. So first of all, we announced the SharePoint Framework 1.15 release with updates of Viva Connection, Microsoft Teams, and SharePoint. So that's an latest version of the SharePoint Framework, enabling you to build using the modern web stack development tooling for Microsoft 365 all up. So don't get fooled on the naming being SharePoint Framework. It's not only for SharePoint. There's also a nice new blog post from Nicole Woon related on news site templates, which are available in SharePoint Online. That's actually 2 I guess it's one new template for community sites and one out-of-the-box template, two out-of-the-box templates for team sites. So a starting point for creating of the sites. Then there was a privacy changes and API support for Microsoft 365 usage reports. So there's a new set of APIs in the Microsoft Graph, which will give you access on the usage reports. And as part of those reports, based on settings, you can either obfuscate, if you want, the user details. So there's some level of security options available within those reports. Then there's an update related on Microsoft Loop components, so extended capabilities in Microsoft Teams and Outlook, and this really focuses on the power of the Loop components. What is the latest on that one? What are all of the different assets available related on it? And then the last blog post is in the OneDrive blog, which is not necessarily covered always in here, but there was a developer-related announcement there, which is the OneDrive file picker V8 now generally available, and you can use the OneDrive file picker in your own web application to integrate, for example, a file picking from the OneDrive of the user. So basically, if you would be looking into people uploading files from their OneDrive to your application, you would be able to use this OneDrive file picker for doing that. But that's all of the news this time. Before we go to the actual stars of the day, let's do a quick group photo. I will start my Camtasia recording here. Give me 1 second, as I'm multitasking today. I'm a bit delayed on the schedule, so I will put the together mode on and share that in any second. Putting in here, we do have 50 seats in the room. So if you enable the camera, you will get into the GIF animation as well. And Paul, behave. Yes, you're just above David in the row. And I can see SharePoint Monkey on the back row. That's really, really cool. We still have, I guess we still have a one row available. Let's wait a few more seconds. I will put the recording on, but let's wait. There we go. I guess we are hitting the limits. Let's do some hand waving, everybody. There we go. That's the 50 seats. Excellent. Thanks everybody for joining. Again on the weekly call, and we'll get a GIF animation out of this for sure. Thanks everybody. Really, really cool to have you on the call. It's always awesome to see the actual real faces of people. So let's go to the actual stars of the day. So that's it from my side for doing the monologue. So we'll give Rabeb the stage and talk about the Microsoft Graph Postman collections.
Hello. Brilliant. All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Rabeb, and I am a product manager with the Microsoft Graph team. This is the second session of this series we are doing around Postman and the Microsoft Graph collection. I do apologize, I couldn't make it last week, but the week before, my colleague Sébastien Levert, he did the intro session, and he went through some of the basics around Postman, how to use the Echo collection with Postman, just so you can get used to Postman in case you're not. And then he went through the collection, the Microsoft Graph collection, I think the 7 or 8 steps that you need to set up everything you need and be up and running. I highly recommend this session. Again, if you're not familiar with Postman, or if you've never used our Microsoft Graph collection, this is really useful session. I have it on my browser, so I'll make sure after my presentation, I'll make sure to leave all the links that you need on the chat. And what I'm planning to do today is just continue from that, and we're going to look at some of the useful features within Postman and how you can take advantage of them while you're using the Microsoft Graph collection and testing the different APIs. Running that. So first, just a quick reminder, and for everyone on the call who are not familiar with Postman, Postman is a developer tool. It is an API platform where you can build APIs, test with the APIs. It's really rich on features, and it allows for very advanced scenarios, collaborations, etc. It's a really great place to start if you're like working with APIs. And one of the amazing features on Postman is collections, which is basically a collection is a set of requests together. They are collected into nice folders, and you can do different things with them. The good news is we do have a collection for Microsoft Graph. So the collection it comes in with predefined endpoints, some variables that you can use to run the requests, etc. Again, aka.ms/graph/postman. That's where you can find all the details on how you can fork the collection, set up everything you need, get an application on the Azure Active Directory so you have the right permissions, etc. I will make sure I have all the links for you. And that is all the PowerPoint we will need for today. So now, if I do share my browser so we can take a look at the actual platform, which is Postman. Is this the one I need? I think so. Here I am on Postman. This is my own workspace. I already did fork the Microsoft Graph collection. And as you can see, it's here. It's nicely organized in delegated and application, 2 folders, depending on the type of permission you need, and then the different things that you can do. Again, as I mentioned, I'm gonna look at some features with Postman that I think they are really useful, and then I'm gonna look at something else as well with Graph Explorer. Now, the first thing I want to highlight here, we keep adding new resources and new endpoints to Microsoft Graph all the time. So maybe, there is a new API added that you want to test, but it's not on the Microsoft Graph collection yet. Or it could be that it's something that used to be in beta and then it's in V1 and we didn't update the collection yet. And I think this is a good time for me to make a public promise that we will do a better job at making sure the Microsoft Graph collection on Postman gets updated regularly. I promise. It's recorded, so that's definitely gonna happen. But in case, for whatever reason, you might need to add another request to what's already available on the collection, that is actually possible. So if we go here on these 3 dots, I guess it's known as the kebab menu, you can see among some of the things you can do with the collection is you can add a request. Now, my collection is nicely organized into folders, and I don't want just to drop a request anywhere. Luckily, you can do the same thing with any subfolder. So if I go to any of these subfolders, I can see that I want to add a request. Now, for the sake of this demo, I'm like, okay, I want to make sure I'm adding a new request, but it's not already available on the collection. So what I went to aka.ms/graph/changelog, because we do have this in case you don't know about it. We always use this course to remind you of all the tools and cool features that we have and that you can use. And I was just checking, what did we add very recently that is not available on the collection and that I can use for my demo? And turns out there is this checklist item resource that is recently added to the to-do tasks API. So if I click on this item, I know I can go to the documentation and I can see everything related to it, and I can get the request that I want to add to the collection. But I am slightly lazy. I also happen to be the PM for Graph Explorer, so any excuse to use Graph Explorer and to show you how cool it is. And I know for a fact that I can find that request on Graph Explorer. Now, if you've never seen this resources tab before, and if you have no idea what that is, just wait a second. We're going to come back to this in details in a few minutes. But here is my request, because I have it over there, and I'm going to take it. I'm going to lazily copy that, and I'm going to go to this folder called tasks, and I'm going to say, I want to add a request. Here, I'm gonna copy this first. These are my params, so I'm gonna make sure they are highlighted as such. The one. And I might want to call this something nicer, which is get to task. Was it the checklist items? Something like that. Now, because these are params, it says here that it's unresolved variable, so there is no value for the for Postman to run the request with. You can add these. You can add a new variable if it's not predefined with the collection. I'm not going to do this at the moment. This is just to show you how you can add a new request. If I click save, I can check here that this item is added. And as you can see, you need to define the right variables. And the more I think about it, probably it's a better idea if we just keep the original collection up to date. But just in case, in the extreme cases, you do need to add one of your own requests to the collection. Now you know that this option is available for you. Now, the second thing I want to show with collections is the collection runner. Basically, the collection runner is a nice feature that allows you to run the requests within the collection in a sequence. So there is a specific order on how to run the request. This is really great if you want to test your collection and even run the collection, do some testing. You can even connect that to your CI/CD pipeline using Newman, which I just learned. It's a command line tool from Postman to run collections. So if I come here, I can see run collection. And in here, because I selected run collection on the main Microsoft Graph collection, every single request available on the collection will show on here, and it's selected. There are a few settings that you can set on the runner. For example, iterations, which is how many times do you want to run this collection automatically? You can set it to 1, you can set it to more than once. The delay is, do you want the requests to run immediately one after the other, or is there a specific delay between every 2 requests? You might even select a JSON or a CSV file if you need to inject some data, or let's say between iterations, you want to change the values of the data you're running the requests against. Again, there are like some advanced settings. Do you want to save your responses so you can see them on the logs? The variable values here, do you want them to persist, especially if you have different iterations, or do you want in the next iteration to take like the current value, etc., or if you need cookies? Now, I'm not gonna run this one. I personally don't see the value in running everything we have on the collection, unless it's for the sake of testing. You might have like a perfectly reasonable scenario, and I would love to hear about it. But instead, because I can do the same thing on subfolders, so instead I'm gonna go to this subfolder because maybe I want to do on a specific set of tasks. So if I go and say run folder, I see the same, it's exactly the same view, and I can do the same setups. Now, you don't have to run everything on a folder. You can manually select items. So I'm going to keep it to the get, otherwise it will get a little upset. And the other thing is, again, remember the runner runs them into a sequence, so you might want to change the order if that's something you want to do. And then if I say run, what will happen? It will run this, and it's showing me exactly the request that I did run. And then if I click on one of them, I can see some details, like what's in the header. Yes, I did forget. So here, what happened is I did forget to set this to save responses. No, it's this one actually. Let's see. Let's do this again. Run this folder, and because I didn't say save responses, that's why I couldn't see them. Again, let me just uncheck these. And if I run this, now in theory, yes, I should see something in my response. Let's see, this is the response body. I'm using my developer account, so this is some just dummy data that I'm using for testing, but I can see I have things in here. Now, this is not particularly, I also set up a test. You can set up some tests against your collections if that's something you need. This is not very practical in like real life. You don't want to be moving the order manually, etc. But what we can do, you can set up scripts to change the order or even to pass data between requests. So basically you can do all of that with writing pre-request scripts and setting workflows. And if this is something of interest, I'm happy to come back after the summer break and we can do a session on that, like more advanced session on scripts and workflows. I owe you a session from last week anyway, so we can definitely do that. Now, again, this is really nice, and there is everything from Microsoft Graph, and it's really organized in a nice way. But maybe you want something that is more tailored to your needs or more scenario-based. Maybe you want to run something that is a mix, like something related to a user, but also it's related to teams. I want to get a user or a group of users, and then for that group of users, I want to see, I don't know, maybe the teams they joined, or I want to add them to different teams. So, and again, instead of manually selecting each one, what if you can create a customized Postman collection from the Microsoft Graph APIs, and you still can use it with Postman? For that, I'm going to go to Graph Explorer. On here, on Graph Explorer, very recently, we added the Resources Explorer. Resources Explorer, as the name says, will show you every single resource available with Microsoft Graph on V1 or on beta, literally everything. And what you can do is you can choose to add them to a collection. This is a Postman collection. We will be adding more in the future, but for now, the collection is a Postman collection. So to make this very quickly, I just added few things. This is what I added to the collection. And then I can say, download the Postman collection. And it should be downloaded. And if I go very quickly to Postman, I can say import, and I'm going to upload the file, and I'm going to go, I have old collections that I'm going to use, and I'm going to say open this, and immediately it shows me that my collection is a Postman collection. I can call it whatever I want, and I say import, and it is adding this in here, and you can see everything on that collection is in here, and this is more customized and more tailored to your needs. And with that, I'm gonna turn back to Vesa. Thank you very much. And again, let me know if we want a further session on this. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Rabeb, on that one. Really, really cool stuff. Divyanka is already waiting, and thank you for enabling the video. So let's jump on your screen and talk about the Microsoft Viva Learning extensibility.
Sure. Thanks a lot. So today we'll be talking about introduction to the Viva Learning extensibility. Hi, I am Divyanka. I am working as a product manager at Microsoft Viva Learning, and here I'm joined by my colleague Geeta.
Hey everyone, I'm the PMM on Microsoft Viva inbound team. I'll be online to answer any of your questions on chat and supporting Divyanka.
Thank you, Geeta. Moving on. Let's quickly see the agenda for today. So firstly, we'll be looking at an overview of Viva Learning, followed by how, what, and when of the Graph APIs. Then we look at how to get started and followed by some of the resources that you can take a look at. To understand Viva Learning and why this product is so different from the others in the market, we have to take a look at the current learning landscape. There are several categories of learning solutions and platforms that have dominated the learning market. Learning content providers are the actual source for the actual learning content and courses. Then we also have the learning management systems or the LMS, which are typically the admin and management tools which are used to track compliance and training progress and to get insights on the overall learning adoption within the organization. Then we have the learning experience platforms or the LXPs, which tend to be more end user facing. These LXPs provide the recommendations to end users on different courses and skills that they should learn based on what they have already discovered, consumed, and the skills that they're trying to learn. So what this leaves us with? There's a host of different solutions out there in the market, but they often suffer pretty low engagement levels. The engagement mark is below 10% outside of the mandatory trainings consumption. Why does this happen? So this happens because employees have to navigate through these trainings outside of their typical work surfaces. Meaning, employees will have to consciously decide to step outside of their email, file, collaboration spaces where they are doing their daily work and launch their LMS or LXP separately to focus on learning. They don't find the time and ease of access to integrate learning throughout their day-to-day work experiences. And that's why we see this low engagement among the employees. So what if we had this new way of learning that intertwined the experience of learning and personal development throughout the work surfaces that you're already working in? And that brings us to Viva Learning. Viva Learning is an in-the-flow learning solution for employees to discover, share, and consume the learning content from libraries across your organization. Viva Learning is built for Microsoft Teams and Microsoft 365. This means Viva Learning is in the unique position to truly bring learning to where employees are working, like integrating into Teams chat and tabs and throughout Microsoft and Bing search. Your employees are already using Teams as a decentralized learning platform. In every meeting, every chat, every document collab, people are sharing information, gaining knowledge, learning new things, and growing. Viva Learning brings structured features, capabilities, and integrations with the formal learning to supercharge the learning activities natively occurring in every Teams environment. With learning being an extension of the productivity platform rather than a separate entity, it is easier for the employees to prioritize their growth and development. And learning becomes inherently social, which data shows is the most effective way to learn. Plus, for the managers and organization leaders, it sends a signal to the employees that they are prioritizing a culture of learning and growth by placing it top of mind and making it easier to access learning investments that they have made. Here on this slide, we see an animation that shows Viva Learning Teams chat composition feature. As you can see, you can send a learning course right from your chat composition box. No stepping out to a separate app to interact with learning. We are bringing learning right to where you are. We as Viva Learning have partnered with leading learning providers and learning management systems in the market to make Viva Learning a comprehensive and extensible learning platform. Providers like Pluralsight, Coursera, Go1, and the others on the slide offer breadth and depth of learning content spanning industries, roles, and subjects. And our three LMSs, Cornerstone On Demand, SAP SuccessFactors, and Saba Cloud, bring advanced learning features into Viva Learning too, such as the assignments and the learner records. We're also going to integrate with Workday as an LMS partner and building Graph APIs, which will allow you to connect any learning provider or learning management system to your Viva Learning tenant, even if they aren't a part of a pre-configured partners. With this, let's look at the how, what, and when of the Viva Learning Graph APIs. Starting with the how. this particular slide shows us how the learning sources integration at Viva Learning work. There are two use cases that we are supporting. The first one is the content catalog sync. Users can discover the content from their LMS or the learning providers within Viva Learning and consume this content within the Viva Learning or their provider platform. Then we have the learner record sync, which helps the users to discover their assigned as well as completed trainings from their learning provider within Viva Learning. Now let's look at how these integrations work through this diagram. Starting from the right-hand side, we have the LMS or the 3P learning sources, which have the learning content as well as the assignment and completion records. When talking about the out-of-box integrations, these work through the pull models. So the content and assignment and completion records are pulled into the Viva Learning using this out-of-box integrations connector. The records are fetched using the fetcher, post which the data is processed and synced on to the Viva Learning data store, from where this data is surfaced within the Viva Learning. Now talking about the second method, which is the Graph APIs. Graph APIs uses the push mechanism for integration. Using the push mechanism, the content catalog as well as the assignment and completion records from the LMS or 3P sources can be pushed on to the Viva Learning using the content sync as well as the learner record sync APIs. The learner record sync APIs includes the assignment as well as the completion sync scenarios. Once this data is pushed onto the Viva Learning, it is then synced on to our backend data store from where it is surfaced into the Viva Learning. As you can see on the left-hand side, we have the Viva Learning and all the content catalog from the customer is visible onto the Viva Learning platform. And we also have the learner's assignment and completed courses available within Viva Learning. Now let's look at the different scenarios that are supported with each of our three APIs. Starting with the content sync APIs. These APIs allow you to sync in the content for a tenant within Viva Learning. The scenarios supported are provider registration to register the provider. You can also enable or disable and update the registered provider. You can use the provider registration ID for the content ingestion. The other scenarios that are supported are the CRUD operations for the content. So you can ingest the learning content with the required metadata. You can update, delete, and retrieve the ingested learning content. Moving on to the assignment sync APIs. These APIs help sync in the learner's assignments within Viva Learning. The scenarios supported are, you can ingest the learner assignment record. The record would be for the learner and the learning content. You can also update, delete, and retrieve the ingested assignment record. You can also retrieve all the assignments for a learner and retrieve all the assignments for a learner for a specific learning content. Next, we have the completion sync APIs. These APIs help sync the learner's completed trainings within Viva Learning. The scenarios supported are, you can ingest the completion record for a learner and the learning content, and also update, delete, and retrieve the ingested completion record. You can also retrieve all the completion records for a learner. This slide shows how the Viva Learning content will appear within Viva Learning after the ingestion. So the ingested content will appear in the Browse Courses section under the Provider section. Here you have the Contoso carousel under which all the courses that were ingested for this particular provider are being shown. This slide shows how the learner assignments appear in Viva Learning. So the assignments appear in the My Learning tab under the Assigned to You section. And this slide shows the completed courses within Viva Learning. So the user will be able to see their completed trainings in the My Learning section, in the My Learning tab under the completed section. This leads me to the big announcement for today. The Content Sync Graph APIs are now in public preview. This shows the detailed timelines for all the different graph APIs. So we just completed the private preview for our Content Sync APIs, and we have 3 partners who have already successfully integrated using our Content Sync Graph APIs. So now we have our Graph APIs available in the public preview. Soon after the public preview, we'll have our Graph APIs available in GA. Soon after the public preview of Content Sync APIs, we'll also be announcing the Learner Record Sync APIs private preview. This slide shows how you can get started with the Viva Learning Graph APIs. Follow the instructions on the below public documentation for using the Content Sync Graph APIs to start connecting your or your customers' LMS or learning providers to Viva Learning. This process typically takes around a month. These are some other set of resources that you can take a look at to learn more about the Viva Learning for product information and also for deep dive. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Really, really cool stuff, and awesome to have Viva Learning APIs and extensibility finally available.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much.
And let's jump on Benjamin, and we can see Benjamin on the video already, so he's ready to go.
Yeah, hey folks. My name is Ben Olson. I'm a product manager on Teams Modern Workplace Transformation. I'm going to give you an overview of our new virtual appointment graph API. Thanks for having me this morning. So we've been seeing a lot more use of Teams online meetings in these kind of new business to consumer B2C scenarios. These span a bunch of different industries. We've all probably had some sort of online B2C meeting that we've done in the past 2 years. But the needs of that end consumer are a little bit different than the standard Teams meeting. So for example, a patient joining a telehealth visit might not have the Teams client installed on their phone, which can be a big friction point for getting the visit completed and might attrition out. So my team for the past 2 years has been developing a number of features kind of to enhance the consumer side of the B2C workflow for Teams. And this includes a browser join experience so the customer doesn't have to download the Teams client, an enhanced waiting room with kind of industry messaging that's a little bit more friendly than the standard Teams lobby that we have kind of on this call, and SMS appointment reminders to reduce no-shows. So until now, these 3 features and a few others were only available to Teams users that use our first-party kind of scheduling SaaS products, which are Bookings or the EHR connector, which is very specific to healthcare. But starting next month, we're exposing these features over a new graph layer with the new CRUD API. So the Virtual Appointment Graph API is going to allow developers to create, manage, and embed these Microsoft-hosted Teams virtual appointments created through Graph. And they're going to have the same features that you just saw with B2C, so that mobile browser join, the waiting room, and a few more. This is especially important for scenarios when you want to have virtual appointments, but you want to bring your own scheduling system. So until today, you only could use our first-party scheduling system, but with this new Virtual Appointment Graph API, you can bring your own application, scheduling system, whatever you want, and using the Graph API, create these hosted virtual appointments. So let me just jump into what a sample API request might look like. So this API is built on top of the online meeting API, if you folks are familiar with that. We're initially supporting delegated permissions. And then once you pass us that online meeting ID, we create a new virtual appointment resource. Inside this virtual appointment resource, we store a bunch of new properties. There'll be more information in the documentation, but you can store that kind of client who's like that end consumer in the B2C, so like the patient in the telehealth scenario. You can store their name, their email, and their phone number. We also have properties to store the external appointment ID and then the URL of that external scheduling system to capture that resource. So the big difference with this API is in the response, we return a separate client join web URL link. And this is kind of like the big differentiator here is so your providers, so the doctors in the telehealth scenario can still use the standard online Teams meeting link to join so they can stay in Teams with their normal workflow. But when you click this new client join web URL, that's when you get the kind of enhanced B2C experience. And I'll kind of walk through that real quick. So when you click on that new link that we return, these folks hit this kind of browser join link, so they don't need to have the Teams client installed on their phone or desktop. We have a slightly different onboarding where audio and video is on by default. We've gotten a lot of feedback from customers and partners that sometimes these C2 users have trouble getting their audio and video. And this kind of helps just streamline a little bit. In the third screenshot, we have some industry messaging. So if you're in the healthcare scenario, it says like your provider will be with you shortly. If you're in the retail scenario, it says your shopper. And it's just a little bit more friendly to let folks know that their appointment's going to start soon and they're in the right place and they have everything enabled by default. So it's just a little bit more friendly than just sitting in the lobby that we would have on this Teams chat. These are mostly mobile screenshots, but we also support desktop as well. So if your folks are joining from their desktop, that'll work just fine. So where we are right now, the public preview for Graph, so the beta endpoint, will be available pretty soon in a few weeks in July 2022. Application permission support is something that we've heard from a lot of partners and ISVs. That's something you want. That's coming in the second half here of 2022. So delegated permissions are supported in the public preview, and then application permissions will kind of fast follow in the year. Just to reiterate, this is for developers that want to use the virtual appointments with kind of an existing scheduling system, and you get all of that B2C functionality. And like I said, the beta endpoint is going to be available in the next few weeks. I'll throw a link in the chat if you want to sign up to be notified. You don't have to sign up to test. This is just to get an email when the actual beta endpoint will be available. So we think we have a few minutes left. Did any folks on the call have any questions?
I didn't see at least questions related on the virtual appointment. Can we go back on a few slides? So just a recap on things. So the mobile, this is really for the mobile or from desktop for the customers as an end users joining on the meeting. And then basically the idea is that you, as a host person, you are using Microsoft Teams. Is that how the system works?
Yeah, exactly. So as the host, you can use the standard Teams client and join the meetings just like usual. But this new link for the mobile browser join is really for the C2 end user, so the patient or the shopper, whoever that might be. And it really allows them to not have to download the Teams client, and then it's just a little bit slightly more friendly interface for them to engage with. But yeah, exactly right. Providers can use the standard Teams experience in the client, and then this join is for the kind of the C2 users.
Cool. How does that work? I'm asking the question because nobody is asking the questions. How does that work in the there's one maybe question in a second. How does that work from a scheduling perspective? So is the API then the way how you schedule these, or is there something what you can do in Teams? How does it work in practice if I'm the doctor sending or a person who's sending this invite?
Yeah, so if you want to schedule Teams, we have like a bookings app that you can use. This Graph API is more for if you schedule outside of Teams. So you want to create these like hosted virtual appointments. So this screenshot. But you want to integrate this directly in your scheduling system outside of Teams. So we return those two separate links. One is the standard online Teams meeting link that provider joins. And then the second is this client join link. And so you can display that anywhere in your application that you've developed. But yeah, this is primarily for if you have your own scheduling system and you want to embed it there.
So anybody like, let's say somebody is cutting people's hair or creating those kind of solutions for scheduling, they could actually integrate using this virtual meeting API model to their system. That's really the sweet spot.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. This is actually really, really cool. And that there's a lot of opportunities then for partners and ISVs to start using this on top of their existing experience. Really, really cool stuff. Now, quickly checking questions. Am I missing questions? Can we customize the logo, color, and background on the client side?
Yeah, so that is actually coming in the second half of this year. So for the public preview, it's just some standard industry messaging that says that changes the words a little bit. But yeah, in the second half of the calendar year 2022, you'll be able to customize the logo and any of the text in this kind of third screenshot here.
Cool. And then there was a question, can the host record the session? So is it fully like Teams feature session?
Yeah, so it's the nice thing is this is built on top of online meetings. So yeah, the host can record the session, and then if you also want to restrict the recording, that kind of stuff. So yeah, anything that's supported in a current online meeting Teams meeting that you would create is supported here as well. So yes, you can definitely record. And I think there's another question here, can we create voice-only virtual appointments and disable video? Yeah, so you can also force the video off on the online meeting, Teams meeting. So yeah, that would be supported as well.
Now, would you, Ben, know already that is the virtual app HIPAA compliance? That's basically what's HIPAA is accessibility. I can remember.
It's the healthcare compliance.
Oh,
Yeah.
that one. Yes, that one.
Yeah.
Healthcare information protection, privacy, something like that.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, this will be HIPAA compliant for the preview. Yep.
I guess that's all the pending questions for now. We can have still questions on the chat. Pricing is a good question. Let's close on that one, and then I'll close up the call after that. Any thoughts on pricing and licensing on using this?
Yeah, so virtual appointments is included in almost all the M365 licenses, like Brian said. Some of the premium APIs, so customizing the logo, might be monetized, but that is still in process of what the pricing is going to be. But for the public preview and the beta endpoint, there's no pricing attached.
Excellent. Thank you, Ben, on that one. Really, really cool. That actually opens up a lot of interesting opportunities for integrating the meeting experience in any external solution. So really cool stuff. Now we are 5 minutes to the top of the hour, so it's absolutely fine to start closing in, so people have some time to reflect before they go to another meeting, most likely within their schedule. But thank you, Rabeb, thank you, Divanka and Chida on the presentations, and Ben as well. Really cool show. A lot of Microsoft Graph specific topics once again, which I'm not surprised, because Microsoft Graph is for sure the underlying API for accessing all of the information in Microsoft 365. So really cool to start seeing additional level of capabilities and APIs and surfaces which are being surfaced through the Microsoft Graph platform. So awesome stuff. Absolutely brilliant. Now, a bit of a reminder for everybody watching this as a recording or in here, we will not have this call within the next week. We will come back on this call 6th of September. So what I would recommend you to do is to delete one by one, not the whole recurrent meeting from your calendar, but delete all of the upcoming meetings on the Tuesday at 8 a.m. Pacific time on this call between July 1st and the 31st of August. And then on September 6th, the recurrent meeting continues as it is until the next summer. So we're looking into, again, having the platform community call happening every single Tuesday, 8 a.m. starting from the 6th of September. But again, we have updated all of our community call details in the community call page at AKMS M365/calls, and we keep on updating all of the details there as well. We cannot, again, unfortunately, cancel the invite which you have on your calendar, and the recurrent invites do not support jumping between certain months, so we cannot do that for you. So you will need to do that manual skipping of the calls. I will be there next week anyway, making sure that whoever joins knows that we'll be back in 2 months. But that's it for this one, and the recording will be available in 24 hours in the Microsoft 365 community YouTube channel. And as mentioned, we will keep on releasing at least one video within that channel in every single weekday. So it's a great channel to subscribe. You will get a lot of insights on what's happening across the Microsoft 365 platform. And that's it from this week. So thank you everybody for joining one more time. Thank you for the presenters, and stay healthy, stay safe. Have an awesome summer if you are in the Northern Hemisphere, and let's stay in touch. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.